What we need is not more medication, but more education, because the best prescription is knowledge. This is Exposé coming to you live from Lagos, Nigeria, every Monday on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook simultaneously. I'm your regular host, Tony Akinyemi. Don't forget, what we need is not more medication, but more education, because the best prescription is knowledge. Hello and welcome to Exposé with Tony Akinyemi. Today again, we are privileged to have in the house Dr. Melody Akinyemi with us, my daughter. She's a medical doctor, I'm a nutritionist, and we have collaborated to write our book, Defeating Diabetes. And we've been discussing this book, for quite a number of episodes. Today, we are going to continue with where we left off last week. By the way, I welcome you to a brand new month. I hope that this month will be far better than the previous. In Jesus' mighty name. Okay, so we were talking about the 10-point agenda, our 10-point agenda for defeating diabetes. We looked at the first point during the last episode. And in that first point, we looked at how to reprogram our minds, how to rethink our beliefs, the things we believe. If you believe, for example, that your condition is genetic and there's nothing you can do about it, then you're not likely going to take any action. So your belief is important. If you believe that your condition cannot be reversed, it's irreversible, then you're not likely going to take any action because your belief begins to limit you. Right? If you believe that, I'm not diabetic, but people in my family, they become diabetic once they attain a certain age, and as I'm approaching that age, it will soon be my turn. Let it be unto you according to your belief. If you believe that it cannot be prevented, then you will not take any action to prevent it. And then, of course, if you believe that it cannot be reversed, but it can be managed, then you choose the disease management model rather than the disease reversal model. So, changing your belief, rethinking your belief, very important. Now, we're going to take the second point on our 10-point agenda for the reversal of diabetes. And the second point has to do with working on your diet. You have to work, yes. It involves a lot of work. And this is where many people find it very difficult because, you see, we are creatures of habit. We have developed certain habits. We also inherited certain habits from our parents. I tell folks that inheritance is not just about inheriting genes from your parents or inheriting estates from your parents, maybe inheriting your father's house or your mother's house. No, inheritance also has a third component. You also inherited certain lifestyle issues and certain dietary patterns from those who raised you. You may not be aware of it, but you have inherited habits. So inherited genes, inherited estate, and inherited habits. Okay, and not because we are creatures of habits. Sometimes those habits are difficult to break. So that's why I call it work. You have to work on your diet. Are you ready to work? Are you ready to do the needful? Now, that goes in two parts. The first part is identifying the things that you need to eliminate from your diet. The things you need to avoid eating or drinking. Okay? And typically, that is the most difficult part. You've been used to certain things, you love them, you enjoy them, but these things are either contributing causes to your problem or they are aggravating factors to your problem. You don't want anything that will aggravate the problem, and you don't want anything that will trigger those genes that code for that particular disease condition, particularly diabetes in this case. So you have to work on your diet. And so we're going to start with the first part, the things to avoid, and then the second part, the things to include, things that are very good in helping to mitigate diabetes and all the side effects and all the complications that may have arisen from diabetes. How do I correct them? How do I bring things back to homeostasis, to balance? All right, so we start with part A. And again, I'll be asking Dr. Melody a number of questions today about this working on our diet as a second point in our 10-point agenda. Now, can you give us some examples of things that a diabetic patient must avoid in their diet? And then why? What must I avoid if I'm a diabetic? And why must I avoid them? Maybe not very exhaustive explanation.
There's a very long list.
Yeah. What we will do is we're going to take samples, examples of what to avoid, and then we will go ahead to explain again some reasons, not all reasons, because, if we want to continue to list all the reasons why I must avoid a particular substance, maybe we have 10 reasons. But if you give one or two, that's sufficient. I believe those who want to listen will listen. Those who don't want to listen, even if you give them 100 reasons, they will still continue to find reasons why they cannot avoid those things. So, give us some examples of things to avoid.
I think first on the list will be the obvious one.
Right.
Sugar.
Sugar, okay.
Sugar, refined carbohydrates, all forms of sugar, sugar in all its
forms. What are refined carbohydrates?
Okay, so carbohydrates is a class of macronutrients. I'm sure everybody knows that from basic science.
Yeah.
It's hydrocarbons. So carbons arranged with water molecules. So we call them hydrocarbons. CH2. That's the basic unit of carbohydrates. So typically in nature, carbohydrates exist in a form called polysaccharides.
Right.
That is multiple chains of intertwined hydrocarbons. Those carbons, those CH2O molecules. And then the arrangement determines what type you call them. Are they starchy foods? Like we have the starchy vegetables and what have you. And then the way they are broken down vary. Their end products to slightly vary because eventually we're looking at the monosaccharides and disaccharides. So monosaccharides are glucose, fructose, galactose. Those are monosaccharides. That's just one unit of the molecule of carbohydrates. Then disaccharides means two molecules.
Yeah.
So you can have glucose, you can have glucose, fructose, you can have glucose, galactose. Different combinations give you the disaccharides. So examples of disaccharides are sucrose, lactose, maltose, and the like.
Those are the kind of sugar you find in fruits and milk and what have you.
And then the multiple ones, starch,
the polysaccharides.
What we call complex. Let's keep it simple. Complex carbohydrates.
Okay.
Yeah. So fiber too also falls
under that category.
A bit under that category. Some types of fiber. So any sugar that is not in the complex form, the multiple intertwined molecules, as it exists in nature, is sugar or simple sugar. We refer to it as simple sugar. So an example would be our refined white sugar, brown sugar, syrup, high fructose corn syrup, and all those syrups.
Right. So what you're saying in effect is that for a diabetic to hopefully be able to reverse diabetes, that person needs to get rid of simple sugars.
I think everybody should. Diabetic, everybody needs.
No refined sugar. I mean, some people argue that brown sugar is better than white sugar.
I think brown sugar is just a step from white sugar. It's not bleached.
Yeah, the bleaching to take away the brown color is what converts brown sugar to white sugar. So essentially, in its impact on the body, it's essentially the same at the end of the day. So let's stop deceiving ourselves to say, I don't take white sugar, I take brown sugar. Okay, so sugar and other simple carbohydrates, soft drinks.
You can find them in soft drinks, packaged juices, food. They come as food additives. I think you even bought a pack of this no MSG, one of those seasoning cubes, the no MSG seasoning cubes. Yeah. And then part of the ingredients was sugar. Yes, sugar. So some of these things, that's why we say avoid package, because some of them have hidden
ingredients.
Yes. And the main issue with these simple sugars, aside from the fact that you have pre-digested glucose that just swims into the blood at an alarming rate,
Right.
complex carbohydrates also come with many other essential trace minerals that aid in the proper metabolism
Of the
of the
glucose.
glucose. So that even when it's broken down to glucose, the glucose is not harmful
To the body.
to the
Because
body.
it's not only glucose that
That's
goes
going
into the
in.
bloodstream.
It's going in with a host of other
Cofactors.
things. Yes. A lot of minerals, B vitamins, selenium, a lot of things. If you look at most foods that contain high sugar content or high carbohydrate content, they usually are packed with a lot of those
Right.
essential trace minerals that are important to ensure that it doesn't
Chromium, for
injure you.
example.
Yes, chromium,
Yeah.
zinc, and the likes. Yes. So that's one of the issues with sugar
Right.
and all forms of simple sugar.
So if somebody is to avoid sugar, for example, what would be the healthy alternatives for a diabetic, for example? Okay, I don't do sugar anymore if I'm diabetic. And what can I use to sweeten my food? Or am I sentenced to a lifetime of lack of sweetness? Because some people think, oh, this thing is tough. You are really removing the fun out of my life. You know? Yeah, of course, sugar is an addictive substance.
Yes.
Yeah, so, but what are the alternatives that are acceptable?
So alternatives, I'll take the alternatives in layers depending on how far you've come in your recovery journey.
Right.
So someone who is just starting out the journey, I would rather you go for healthy alternative sweeteners like stevia, for example, which is almost zero calories.
Stevia is STEVIA for those who don't know.
It's 0 calories. So even if you take it, you're not getting any glucose of any form in your body. Of course, as your glucose metabolism improves, you can start to add complex sweeteners like honey, agave nectar, maple syrup. They are also carbohydrates, but they're actually complex carbohydrates, even though they are sweeteners. So your body still metabolize them the way to metabolize other forms of complex carbohydrates, and they don't have high sugar spikes.
Okay, so that's in the category of sweeteners for the diabetic. Let's migrate from there a little bit to refined carbohydrates like white flour.
Okay.
White flour products.
White flour is a no-no.
Okay, for the diabetic.
Yes, as well as wheat flour.
Yeah. Because I've seen some diabetics who have been told that they should, eat wheat bread and wheat meal and all of that. But of course, in our book, we are saying no. Our second point on the 10-point agenda is that wheat products and white flour products are among the things we need to eliminate if you hope to reverse your diabetes. But if you want to manage it, then fine, you can carry on. But if reversal is your end point, then it's important for you to take that out. Okay, what about fast food and fried food?
Of course. So fast foods contain many toxic chemicals. The way they process them is not, they've killed and murdered and packaged it neatly for you to eat. They are bereft of essential nutrients. They contain a lot of toxic substances. So let's take fried food, for example. The oil that they use has been damaged. The combination of the oil at high heat with the meals produce some cancerous and toxic substances.
Like acrylamide.
Yes. Then they also contain bad fat. So there's no way you're going to fry food or eat fast food. They're not going to be eating a lot of trans fat.
Yeah.
And from our previous episode, we discussed the impact of bad fat, bad cholesterol
on cell membranes
and glucose metabolism. So anyone who is serious about reversing insulin resistance has to take out fast food, has to take out fried food. In case you're not clear, fast food, fries, burgers, pizzas, anything that's prepared fast.
Okay. Yeah.
And fried foods includes akara for Nigerians.
Okay.
Akara, fried yam,
and dodo. And dundu.
I'm sure we say pinch.
Some people will say, "Oh, they are spoiling my evening today. They are spoiling my evening." Okay. Right. Plantain chips and all of that. Anything fried, particularly deep frying. Yeah, those ones have trans fat. The stir fry sauteing may still be acceptable. All right. So those constitute some of the things that we need to eliminate?
I forgot milk.
Okay, we are not done. We are just going to go on a short break. We still have a long list of things to eliminate for the diabetic patient in particular, and for those who may want to prevent as well. So after this short break, we'll be back and continue to look at the things that a diabetic patient in particular, and maybe others in general, must avoid in our attempt to be able to reverse diabetes. Don't go away. You can actually reverse diabetes. When you understand diabetes, you understand what it is, you understand how it happens, the risk factors, the causes, and the complications that it can give rise to. Those who already have it, to start putting measures in place to reverse it, or at the very least, to control it. My daughter is a medical doctor and I am a nutritionist. We co-authored Defeating Diabetes Naturally. You'll find it on Amazon.com, and you can also buy hard copies from our bookshop, the Shepherd Stores Limited, on number 18 Shogunde Street, Abule Onibagbo, Ikeja, Lagos, Nigeria. All right, you're welcome back to Exposé with Tony Akinyemi, brought to you by the Shepherd's Flock International Church. I have with me today again to discuss the second point in our 10-point agenda on how to defeat diabetes, Dr. Melody Akinyemi in the house. And we are looking at the things to avoid in the diet of a diabetic if that diabetic hopes to reverse the condition. We've looked at how fast foods must be avoided, fried foods must be avoided, refined sugar, most simple sugars, sugar, soft drinks, packaged fruit juices, high fructose corn syrup must be avoided. And some of these things are hidden as hidden ingredients in some of the things that we buy in the supermarket and we don't even realize it. And then we've looked at white flour products, we've looked at wheat products. Now the next item, would you like to touch on another item that they need to avoid?
Cow milk.
Okay, and why? Well, okay, go ahead.
Let's start with type 1 diabetes. I mean, there are studies that show that early introduction of babies to cow milk products predisposes them to type 1 diabetes.
Because of the bovine insulin that is found inside the cow milk. All right. What about artificial sweeteners?
Yes, of course, artificial sweeteners. So there's an interesting study I stumbled upon early this year or last year about saccharin. So there's been this back and forth debate on
whether it's okay or not.
It's okay, it's supposed to be a healthy alternative. So apparently, it isn't a healthy alternative and has actually been shown to increase blood sugar levels in certain people. The mechanism is not clear, but the idea was that it goes into the large intestine and interferes or messes up the intestinal flora.
Yeah.
And the intestinal flora also plays a major role in glucose metabolism. So invariably, through pathways that nobody understands fully yet, it eventually causes...
Just destabilizes many things. Sugar level goes
just
up.
Keep going up.
Of course, whatever affects the intestinal flora, we also affect the immune system.
Definitely.
And we also impact on the polyvagal nerve. So at the end of the day, before you know it, all kinds of different things can cause anxiety disorders and what have you, because the vagus nerve is very, very important in regulating aspects of our nervous system balance at the end of the day. Okay, so artificial sweeteners like saccharin, aspartame, they are all no-nos, because there are people who say, I have been told to avoid sugar, I don't do sugar anymore, I now do artificial sweetener because it's also 0 calories. But of course, for those of you who have been watching Exposé before now, when I did some series on the dirty dozen, I spent a lot of time to explain why saccharin, aspartame, and the rest of them are no. Not just for diabetes, but indeed for everybody. Okay, let's go ahead.
So, of course, diabetogenic medications, if you're on any medication that can predispose you to developing high blood sugar. You should stay off it if you're trying to reverse your sugar and switch to other things or healthier alternatives to help. Alcoholic beverages, I think we spoke about this at when we talked about alcohol. Processed foods that are found in cartons and tins and
I call them dead food lying in states on the supermarket shelves.
Yes.
Pay your last respect and walk away. Go to the raw food, living food aisle in your grocery store and go organic.
We're talking about the cornflakes and the Rice Krispies.
Right.
The process, everything packaged. And the thing is, they contain lots of hidden ingredients that you cannot, some are not even on the label because they're not required to put them on the label. They contain lots of sugar, a lot of artificial sweeteners, artificial flavors to make them tasty and very nice, a lot of chemicals to keep them fresh. Because I mean, think about it. If you put corn on your shelf, within a few days, it starts to grow mold. But how do you put something on the shelf for years and
it doesn't
not a single mold? You know that it has been highly chemicalized. So a lot of things. Then polished rice. Because it has been stripped of the outer layer that contains, unfortunately, the concentration of nutrients. You know, when we talked about simple sugar, we talked about how most of them are accompanied by minerals and nutrients. So polished rice has been the coating that's supposed to contain all of that taken away. So all you have is just simple carbohydrates. So eat brown rice, eat locally
produced rice
that has not been
Abakaliki rice.
Processed or shaped off or properly, or those ones that
they've been shaped, they've been sculpted, so to speak, polished.
Go for the unpolished rice. Very, very important. I know rice is a staple food in Africa, Asia, also. I want to go for the
What about pasta, spaghetti, macaroni, and all of those things? You know, some people just love those things. Now, I love some of those things myself, but I'm aware that there are acceptable or healthy alternatives for those. I mean, if you're Italian, for example, how can you do without pasta? If you have an Italian person who has diabetes, are you going to say don't eat pasta for life? You are going to sentence that person to a lifetime of wow. So, what are the alternative pasta, spaghetti alternatives that
we have different healthy alternatives. There's the one made from the Jerusalem artichoke, the inulin in it.
Right. The inulin is soluble fiber, by the way, which is very good in controlling blood sugar.
There's the shirataki noodles.
Okay.
It's native to Asia. It's also fiber. It's just actually the noodles are 90% water.
Okay.
But the fiber has a way of absorbing
the water
and tastes just like noodles,
regular one.
Pasta. They even shape them into rice. So it gives you almost 0 calories. And you're feeling full for a long period of time.
And you're still having that feeling that you're eating pasta, you're eating spaghetti.
There's this one that they make from bamboo or something. I can't remember the name exactly. There's one that they make from it that is similar.
They even make from spinach.
Yes, there's spinach-based one. There's one they make from dried tomatoes too.
Okay.
Yes, and then there's the edamame one.
Okay.
So there are different alternatives for you if you're a pasta lover like me. Because I love pasta, so I have to look for alternatives. Maybe in another life I would have been born Italian. So there are many, many alternatives. The issue with pasta is made principally from wheat flour, and not just wheat flour, the GMO wheat. So you're avoiding GMO products, you're also avoiding wheat and wheat-based products. Pasta, noodles, and the likes. You can also go for rice noodles if you're sure that the rice
is brown rice, for example.
Rice and not polished rice noodles.
Okay. Yeah, let's round off with things to avoid. I know the list can be almost inexhaustible, but let's touch on one or two more things that a diabetic must avoid.
Soya milk and soya products.
Okay.
Largely because 90 to 95% of the soya you find outside is genetically modified. And then the very, very high amount of protein, and the type of protein that they've altered is very high in, is actually in the long run injurious to the health of people. It also affects insulin production, causes of inflammation, and what have you. So you want to avoid soya milk and soya-based products, microwave foods for general health, and the fact that it also damages
the food and
they are eating.
generates a lot of free radicals
So,
as
yes.
well. Okay, good. So that's the difficult part, what to avoid, which many people, find extremely, extremely difficult, probably because of the sometimes addictive nature of some of those things. Now, we're going to move to the other part. Okay, what must I include in my diet to help me, my body, in my sugar management, in my metabolism, in helping to control my glucose in my blood? What are the things that can help? Let's start with breakfast. In the book, Defeating Diabetes, we actually recommended a particular recipe which we put together to help regulate blood sugar. Can you give us a background to what was the philosophy behind that recipe? Why did we include all the things we included in that recipe? And then we go ahead and share the recipe. And you can try the recipe out. Once again, we put a disclaimer here. We do not offer this as a treatment. We offer it only for educational and informational purposes. But of course, you are a human being, so you have your human rights, you have your constitutional rights. If you choose to use the recipe, of course, it is within your human rights and your constitutional rights. The only thing we say is that you must be ready to accept all liabilities. Okay, that's just a simple disclaimer there. Yeah, this is what we have proposed in the book. We call it the raw cocoa keto smoothie breakfast. The kind of smoothie that is low in, it's not high glycemic, and it helps to regulate your blood sugar. It doesn't give you a sugar spike. It fills you and also brings in virtually all the nutrients you need to go through at least the morning period before it's time for lunch. So why did we include some of those ingredients? And then let's go ahead. Or maybe you should start with the list of the ingredients in the smoothie, the cocoa keto smoothie. Explain the cocoa portion. I know that's coconut
Yes.
and cocoa powder, if that's and then the keto part. Explain what the keto part is, and then we go ahead.
So the keto part was added because it's actually a recipe that's used by people also on the keto diet.
Right.
Keto diet is a ketosis diet. So it's a special type of diet that's where you limit your carbohydrate intake to between 20 and 50 grams per day. So you're on very, very low carbohydrates. And the idea is, if your body doesn't see carbohydrates as fuel anymore, it switches to the backup
ketones.
Yes. So we have the body starts to produce ketone bodies. So that's where the idea of keto or ketones or ketosis came from. So ketone bodies are our alternative fuel source.
Right.
So your body can either use ketone bodies or use glucose as a source of fuel or energy.
So what benefits do you get if you switch from the glucose source of fuel to the ketone bodies as a source of fuel, particularly for the diabetic? What benefit do they derive?
So first of all, of course, insulin drops to zero. So all the inflammatory processes and all that insulin have been fueling all along, they all come to a standstill.
Okay.
There's this thing that people say that absence makes something, you become fond of something when it's not there again.
Okay.
So where your body has been doing shakara for the insulin, because the insulin has been there, now the insulin is not there. The next time the insulin comes in,
the body will not say, thank God you are finally here. So all the resistance, the body has been putting up.
Insulin resistance. Then, in the absence of insulin, there are other hormones that are produced by the body that are actually beneficial to the body. Chief of them will be the human growth hormone, which, aside from helping young people to grow, also helps your body to repair and rejuvenate itself. So it's the hormone that drives reparation and rejuvenation.
And even build muscles.
Yes, building muscles, and also you find some muscle builders taking injections and all. Yes, so that particular hormone helps to reverse inflammation, helps to repair damaged tissue, helps to increase your cell turnover so that you are expelling damaged bad cells and you're producing good cells in higher amounts. Now, the good thing about this is that while that is happening, you're also still providing other important and necessary raw materials for your body to repair itself.
Right.
You know, you can have this kind of benefits if you are fasting, for example. But if you are fasting, you're not having added nutrients. But in this case, you're not having other important nutrients.
Yeah.
That's why we have all of this. So the idea is we want to create a conducive environment for your body to heal and repair while still giving it important and necessary minerals. Of course,
particularly the micronutrients.
yes, keto diet is popular among people who are trying to lose weight, who are very, very, you find people who are obese, pounds, 300, 400 pounds, people that are 160, 200 kg, and are trying to burn fat. It's a cheat way to burn fat because you make a lot of ketones from fats, fatty acids. That's how you generate ketones. So you are burning your body's fatty stores without even exercising much. You just keep burning and burning and burning.
Of course, exercise still has its place.
Definitely. You still have to exercise. So I'll just quickly run through the recipe. So, of course, cocoa keto starts with coconut. So you're starting with coconut milk. If you do not have access to coconut milk, you can use tiger nut milk or any other low.
As the base to blend the other ingredients.
Yes.
That's the liquid to blend every
all
other
the other
ingredient.
ingredients.
Okay.
Then you start with something fatty. So you're either going with coconuts, baby coconuts because it's soft, or avocado pear, something fatty, and that will make it creamy so that it's nice when you're taking it. Then omega-3 oil, which is an essential fatty acid that's very beneficial.
Examples?
We have flaxseed oil,
widow's oil, cod liver oil, in liquid form. You know, fish oil in liquid form.
Then extra virgin
oil,
coconut oil,
which
contains a lot of medium chain triglycerides, which gives you energy for the time, and the energy can last for quite a while. Especially if you're the sort of person that engages in a lot of physical activities, especially in the morning. You might want to add coconut oil to give you that extra boost of energy. Then cinnamon powder. Cinnamon powder also increases insulin sensitivity and helps you to pump up glucose. And aside from other things that it does, and improves the taste, obviously. Then ground chia seed or flax seed. This increases the amount of fiber that you have.
Right. It also has lignans as well as omega-3 too.
That help to, of course, perform. And then protein powder to give you an alternate source of energy.
Protein, plant-derived protein in particular.
Protein also that's beneficial to building up the body. And that good thing with protein powder is when you take it, it keeps you full for a while, so that you're not
craving. You're not craving after.
You can stay 3 hours, 4 hours before you feel hungry again and you need to eat. So this form like the base. So you cannot play around with other things to change the taste. So that it's not like as if you're taking the exact same thing every day. So for example, I want a chocolatey flavor today. I can add carob powder.
Carob, that's CAROB. It's just like cocoa powder, but without the caffeine in cocoa powder, right? Carob.
If I want something berry, I can add berries like strawberries, blueberries, berries, any berry that is available at the time. If I want it a bit sweeter, I can add stevia to it. There's diatomaceous earth that contains lots of trace minerals,
particularly silica.
Yes, that's very, very
good for the nails, good for the hair, good for the skin.
You must be glowing.
Yeah.
Like daddy.
My head is swelling there. I'm blushing.
Yes, now most of my friends don't believe that you're over 60.
They think I'm in my 40s or 50s.
I look so young. Then if you want the smoothies to be green, you want to feel good with yourself, they're taking something green. You can add some greens, kale, spinach, lettuce, anything green to eat.
Google leaves for those in Nigeria.
All are green, just as long as it's edible, you can add it. Then if I want something golden, I can add turmeric.
Which has anti-inflammatory property also.
A bit of ginger, garlic, depending on how I want it. So you can play around with it. But the idea is to keep it within things that are low in
glycemic.
Have low glycemic index.
Yeah, good. So fatty foods, proteinous foods, anti-inflammatory agents, cinnamon in particular. Ceylon cinnamon is what we recommend. CEYLON. That's the type. There are about 4 different types of cinnamon. But the one Ceylon cinnamon is the one we recommend because it's very low in coumadin. Okay. If you take too high amount of coumadin over the long haul, you can start having some hepatotoxic effects and begin to damage the liver. So because of that, Ceylon cinnamon is just good. You can take that for life and you won't have any problem, no liver problem with that. The chia seeds also help with those who already have kidney impairment, because then it contains some substances that can help to lower the creatinine level in the blood at the end of the day. And then, of course, the protein powder as satiety helps to make you feel full and satisfied. So that is the raw cocoa keto smoothie breakfast recipe brought to you by Daddy and Daughter from our book, Defeating Diabetes. Now, if every diabetic patient would just use this recipe in the morning and then use the optional ingredients, I'm sure they are going to put it on the screen for you to see. You use the optional ingredients, you just change them from day to day. That is going to help you not to get bored. You know, it won't become boring. You have different flavors on different days. I think because of how far we have gone today, we have to cut it off here. I thought we could finish this working on our diet today, but it's not likely we're going to be able to do that. So you can go ahead and just take note of the breakfast. We'll come back hopefully next week with additional breakfast options. For example, soaked oats. Yeah, maybe we'll talk about that. So we'll conclude the breakfast today, and then we can pick up on lunch and supper and snacks, you know, when you are on this agenda.
So soaked oats basically is eating oats. So the idea is we want you to eat raw food in the morning and nothing cooked.
Right.
So soaked oats is an avenue for you to eat your oats, but without cooking it.
Cooking it, right.
So you just soak it in a milk base, so either coconut milk or tiger nut milk or almond
hazelnut milk,
any nice nut milk,
right?
But
not cow milk.
Right. Please. So you soak it for an extended period of time, 24 hours, 48 hours, or you can even go up to 3 days if it's in the fridge.
72 hours, yeah, in the fridge.
So that doesn't go bad. So that it softens the oats and is edible for you to eat. And it's actually really, really. When I discovered soaked oats, I don't think I cooked oats, especially in this hot region.
Yeah, we live in the tropics, so the weather here is so warm and humid. Yeah. So cold food is usually very, very wonderful, even as breakfast, you know. So you just soak your oats. What you do is a glass of coconut milk, liquid coconut milk, or you put your powdered coconut milk inside water and constitute it into liquid. And then you add maybe 4 tablespoonfuls or so of the oats, any type of oats, whether it is the steel cut oats or the different types of oats. Yes, all of them work well. Then you can add, I normally will add 2 tablespoonfuls of chia seeds to my...
Yeah, so you can play around with it, the way you play around with it.
Then you can also add a teaspoonful of cinnamon, for example, and a little bit of stevia to sweeten. Or for those whose blood sugar are not really in very serious state, you can actually use honey or maple syrup grade A maple syrup, which is the food grade, and then you just shake them together vigorously in your glass jar, and then cover it, keep it in the fridge. 48 hours, 72 hours later, bring it out, shake it, pour it into your bowl, and ready to eat.
You can top it with
berries, a
few things here and there.
Strawberries, raspberries, blueberries. You can. I mean,
you can play around with it.
Just be creative. Just be creative. You will love it. It's never boring. So when people say, "Oh, I got tired of it," it's because you are a little bit stereotyped. Yeah. You know, if you are creative with your recipe and you dance around and play around with different things, you will find it. So you can go on for 14 days without repeating a particular item. Yes. You know, you keep doing something new every single day. There's no way it can be boring. And that way you are, and I tell people that when you eat this way, not only are you reversing an existing medical condition, you also begin to get some, so do we call them side effects? Good side effects. Things you didn't bargain for, side benefits, okay? Things you didn't bargain for, but you see your cardiovascular health will improve too. Yes. You see your cholesterol also improving. You see your body weight improving.
You feel like daddy.
You're just marketing your daddy.
Yes, many other things. Increased energy, you're happier, you feel
your
fresh,
mood is better.
You sleep better.
Right. So, again, we have to stop here. We apologize that we can't go further. We really don't want to stretch the time beyond the limit. We're always trying to keep it within 30 minutes. I know we have overshot today, so we apologize for that. We will continue this conversation either together next time, or I will do it alone, or she will do it alone, whichever one. We are in the boat together, and either of us can deliver on this by the special grace of God. We want to thank you for spending your evening with us. Would you like to sign off, thanking and doing all the things?
Yes, thank you very much for joining us this evening. I'm sure that you've enjoyed today's episode and you've learned one or two things. At least we've sorted out breakfast for almost everybody. Of course, as we always say, what we need is not more medication, but more education. An informed person is a transformed person. An uninformed person is a deformed person. Click the subscribe button so that you can get notifications of all of our newer episodes as they are being dropped fresh, hot from the oven. And please share the video, share the link to all your contacts, all your friends. I'm sure there are many people out there that will be able to benefit from it. Join us same time next week. God bless you.
Bye-bye.
You can actually reverse diabetes. When you understand diabetes, you understand what it is, you understand how it happens, the risk factors, the causes, and the complications that it can give rise to. Those who already have it, to start putting measures in place to reverse it, or at the very least, to control it. My daughter is a medical doctor and I am a nutritionist. We co-authored Defeating Diabetes Naturally. You will find it on Amazon.com, and you can also buy hard copies from our bookshop, the Shepherd Stores Limited, on number 18 Shogunde Street, Abule Onibagbo, Ikeja, Lagos, Nigeria.